Oh boy, Nate, it's Eromanga-sensei time.
Sure is.
This episode was a roller coaster ride.
This was the most fucking blindingly fast episode of any anime I've ever seen. This felt like a different fucking show. I don't know.
Yeah.
This was weird. This was very unexpected.
There was an entire arc in this episode.
This arc, yeah. It's done. This entire character is already in the trash. We're done with her. There's nothing new. Holy shit, I can't believe they didn't drag this out for like 6 episodes. It was nuts.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm used to, with light novel adaptations, oftentimes the first 4 episodes is book 1,
yeah,
and then each other book is like three or 4 episodes, right? So like the idea of this being the whole second book in 3 episodes makes sense to me. The question is, why were the first 2 episodes such a huge fucking waste of time, and then all of the important shit was in the last one?
Yeah,
what were they thinking?
They had other priorities, I guess, of wasting people's time. I don't know. Maybe they just didn't have enough material and they had to filler it. I don't know. I don't know how much of this is written.
I seem to remember the last 2 arcs being, or the last 2 episodes being nothing. Like just
there was
nothing.
the date with Elf, right? Okay, a little bit of Elf, and we met this character. Like that's all I remember. And
there was the whole getting girls to take off their underwear.
Oh, that
subplot.
I wonder if that's just gone. I wonder if that's just like not a thing anymore. That was good. That was interesting. You know, sleazy shit. They're still going with the sleaze thing with Eromanga. Like in this episode, she's all like, "Oh, why don't you lift that girl's skirt?"
Eromanga's a
and show me your
rapist.
shit." She is a literal rapist. She is a sexual assaulter. Not an okay thing to be. I mean, she's like 12, so nobody probably taught her any better. Yeah, she's not a good person. She is a bad person. You know what? I realized. I don't know. Again, this is something else that is just really dawning on me. Like every girl in this series, like, is a slut. Like they really are. That is what. And they're not apologetic about it. Like Elf, like acts like a bitch all the time and just like gets naked and it's not like she's like a gross person. It's the way that the show shows her. Like we see her naked all the time and shit. And that, well, I guess she did like show her panties for no reason to someone. It's like, so she's got no standards. And then you've got the, the I Love Dicks girl, who's a fake bitch. She's into that shit. Eromanga is like the big pervert who wants everyone to show him their panties and shit. And then this girl, like, I don't know. I was getting some vibes that like she's the one who like just isn't in touch with her sexuality, so she'd be willing to like show people her underwear because she just doesn't give a fuck. Right. I don't know. I hate all these people.
All right, before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's go through this in order because a lot happened. There's a lot to unpack. Mm-hmm. Some of the viewers of this podcast don't watch the show.
Right. They're the smart ones.
It's going to be a little difficult to go through all of it. So at the end of the last episode, what had happened was the main character, Masamune, I finally learned his name, and Elf, who's this other light novel artist who's a lot more popular than him, They have been hanging out, and they go down to the publishing office. He wants to get his light novel published, but they tell him that they can't publish it because this other even more popular artist, like the most popular light novel author that they've got, she wants, for some reason, I don't know why this is happening, but there's a scheduling conflict, I guess, where her book's going to be published and so they can't do his. And then both of them end up at they all end up in the same place, and they're announcing this light novel Tenkaichi Budokai, which is the tournament from Dragon Ball Z most famously, and yeah, they're going to duel it out, and this girl's like, I'm gonna fuck you up, I'm gonna beat you in this light novel contest. And so this episode opens with that, like we're in that scene. Immediately the animation is just terrible. Like, of course. The like second shot of the episode is like this really janky animation of Elf like just moving, and everyone just looks terrible, and I was like,
just looked at it. She's like spazzing out a little bit. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, like right at the start. It's just like, Jesus, man. At least lure me in before you fucking but then we've got this girl, and she at first just comes off as like a mean, evil woman. She wants to put a stop to the main character guy's light novel thing, and we don't really understand why. And as the episode goes along, the more we learn about her, the more it's like, oh, actually she loves this guy.
I knew that
immediately, and is his biggest fan in the world. And
there was no other way this could have possibly gone. It was always going to be that way. That's just how these things happen. But yeah,
I didn't expect it to happen in the speed and ferocity. It's hard for me to even
figure
figure out how
their load so fucking. This is the first premature ejaculation I've ever seen in a fucking anime plot. This was nuts.
I don't even know how to describe it because it was so confusing.
Yeah.
The way that
and
it
that
would
flashback
go like
to like the confession scene. What the fuck was that? Why would you use a flashback for that? There was no need. Like they cut to the future and then immediately do a flashback. What? What are you doing? What is that? God, it was boggling. Mind fucking boggling.
This episode, like, because again, it's a whole arc. So like we establish this character as like a rival to the main guy.
Yep.
And so like it's going really hard on this idea that she's like an enemy.
Right, for sure.
And then like 2 minutes later, we have the grand reveal that she actually just really loves his writing and wants him to like write exclusively for her.
Let me highlight that a little more cuz okay, so at the beginning of the episode, right, so she is being incredibly antagonistic, aggressive, insulting him, saying I'm going to destroy you. You know, she is the bad guy right now. And then like in like a scene later, she comes to his house to tell him how much she fucking loves him. What?
Yeah.
Why? What is that?
Fucking weird.
What changed? What fucking changed? I don't know.
Now,
and like, God, it fucking pissed me off as she shows up wearing that fucking schoolgirl outfit. And the first thing she says is, oh, like, I was told that you would like me if I wore this. Bitch, you were just trying to fucking ruin his fucking career. What are you doing?
Yeah.
The mixed signals. Jesus Christ.
She literally shows up and
I've got my fire back, Digi. I've got my fire back. I hate this fucking show. It's back. This ignited the flame. Holy shit.
She shows up and what she says is like, I feel like I came off the wrong way before, so I want to change your perception of me and make you like me. But from our perspective, like, what has changed here? It's
Nothing.
like it's almost as if the author himself was coming out and saying, "Hold on, I didn't show you this character right. I fucked up. This wasn't how she was supposed to be."
That's exactly what it comes off like, especially when we get to the end of the resolution of like how the actual contest that they're in pans out. It's like she just actually gave up and like never intended to do it from the start. It was the most bizarre fucking writing I've ever seen in my life.
Well, here's what I think is a part of it. Is I think they cut some stuff out that should have been there. And someone linked me a page from the manga, and they said cutting out this reaction really changes the character.
I saw that too. I was going to bring that up. That was really interesting.
Yeah, so in the manga, then at the very start of the episode, Elf is saying how like basically, Elf's stance is that how much you've sold determines your status in the publishing world. She's like, I've sold 2 million, so you all need to listen to me. And then in the manga, then the what the hell's the crazy girl's name?
Murasama.
Murasama?
Because he's Masamune, she's Murasama. It's the swordsmith.
Would it be Muramasa?
It is Muramasa. What did I say? It's Muramasa.
Okay.
That's
you
what
said
it
Sama.
is. I fucked it up.
Muramasa. So Muramasa, she asks the publisher, how much have I sold? Because she doesn't know. And the publisher says 140 million, and she has this reaction like, oh my god, I've sold that much? You know, like she had no idea that she'd sold that much. And that really makes her seem like more of a ditzy idiot character. Like, the point of this is that she's clumsy, and that's why she's doing this weird challenge to get to the guy she likes, because she just doesn't know how to express herself, or she's just kind of like an airhead. But in the anime, that scene is presented of she says to the publisher, tell them how much I've sold.
Right.
And she says 140 million, and she's like,
actually,
see, I'm in charge.
In the show, I noticed the subtitle said 14.5 million. I noticed there was a difference in the numbers there. I don't know if that was intentional or maybe that was like a sub mistake. I'm watching horrible subs.
Yeah, maybe the manga fucked up, because 14 makes a lot more sense than 140.
Yeah, that's... I mean,
that's like an insane number.
Yeah, I want to go check that. I'm like 90% sure that's what it was, but... That was
in any case, yeah, it really like shifts the way you look at it from because when she's first introduced in the previous episode, she's like she drops her stuff on the way in. She seems like maybe a little clumsy, but they keep trying to present her as like this like dark menacing. She's like, I'm gonna fuck up your life, you know, and it feels like she's calculated and stuff. But then later in the episode, when we learn about like the way she writes and everything, she's clearly a total idiot, like a weird airheaded nonsense person. So it's just terrible conveyance.
Well, it's
like they just fucked up her character. They didn't do it in a way that made sense.
There were definitely some serious wires getting crossed here. Because, like, watching the show, I got the impression that, like, what they were going for is that, like, she's someone who just writes for the joy of writing and is just completely unconcerned with the numbers. But then in that same anime, that's where she brings up the whole thing about, like, oh, I'm better than you. Like, you have to listen because I fucking sold more. Which is totally inconsistent. Like, that would work better in the manga where she didn't know. So, what the fuck? They don't know what the fuck they're doing with this bitch. God, it's
yeah. So this is a case where I can't even blame just the source material. The anime fucked up. And I mean, I've said before that all the stuff people have shown me of the manga just seems like it. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's amazing or anything, but it just always clicks a little more because you can tell it's like this cutesy, completely unrealistic, like wacky, fun, spastic comedy kind of thing. Whereas the anime is just so dry and monotonous, and it doesn't put that much character into the expressions, and so you don't get that sense. It just feels like it doesn't make any fucking sense, and like it's a stupid ass show.
That's true, and I bet that all the like fan service shots, I just through the nature of the medium, I bet I would be less creeped out by them in the manga, just because I don't know, manga always has like still shots. Like, of course we're gonna focus on this shot. It's a fucking manga. We can't move the image, so of course it's gonna be like the cutest one you can do. It would like feel more natural and something like that, as opposed to this where you feel like an actual stalker pervert man watching a little girl in her bedroom, a 12-year-old girl in her bedroom. Yeah, that's what we're doing, watching the show. Feels good.
So I was really annoyed at the start of this episode because the dialogue is 80% people talking about our dream.
Yeah.
So the girl she's mad because she says that the guy. Hold on, let me remember their names because this will get confusing.
I know what it is. I'll tell you if you want.
Muramasa is mad at Masamune.
Right, perfect.
Because she thinks that he is in the way of her dream, but she doesn't specify what her dream is.
Jesus Christ.
And then Masamune is like, but you're in the way of my dream. But he doesn't specify what his dream either, and I honestly wasn't clear. Because, like, I know he's trying to, you know, sell and keep his life with his sister together. Is that his dream, though?
Well,
like,
his dream is to make a series with his sister, which he's already done, I guess.
It's confusing because there's no clarification on like a like when I think dream, I think this is something you are hoping to achieve with your career.
Yeah.
Not like literally your day-to-day life is not your dream, you know? And they just keep saying it over and over. Our dream, oh, she's in the way of our dream, my dream. And I'm just like, just tell me what exactly they are preventing. What are the stakes here? What does you not getting published this week matter?
Oh, right.
You
Their
know?
dream is like their continued day-to-day life, isn't it? Just like living, because the thing at stake here is that if he can't get something published, he won't be filling up to his agreement with his aunt, so he won't like feel comfortable continuing to live there despite being a prolific writer or something. Yeah, that's not a fucking dream, you idiot, you fucking retard, you piece of shit. God, this fucking dude. Also, like, I'd like to point out again, these are all rules he's made up for himself. Like, no one's actually doing any of this shit.
I think the aunt told him that he has to. Like, he has to be successful, and therefore she'll let this continue.
Well, it's just, I don't feel he's fully explored the possibilities of, like, getting published at another company. He's just, like, given up because, like, he met one obstacle and is like, oh, fucking panic mode. But whatever. I mean, I guess that he's doing the Gakuen Shinobu fucking challenge, whatever, so that'll be fine. At least he's doing something.
The
Tenkaichi Budokai. Right, yeah, that's the one.
So then we got, God, this there's so much happens in this fucking episode. It's incredible.
Unbelievable. Yeah, it's nuts.
And I gotta say that as bad as this episode is in terms of like not making any sense and the characterization being all over the place, this is easily the best episode of this show so far.
For sure, without a doubt.
Because it had a pulse.
It really did. Like, it really did. It really was moving. That was good.
Every episode up until this point has just been like mind-numbing. This one was like I couldn't even keep up with it.
That's exactly how I was extremely confused a lot of the time. By the way, I just want to point out, imagine you're Muramasa, right? And just put yourself in the scene where, like, this guy who has inspired your entire life, like, you bump into
Masamune.
him.
She's Masamune. He's Muramasa.
No, she's Muramasa. She's definitely more, and he's Masamune, yeah. And
whatever.
You bump into this dude, and, like, you realize it's him, and what do? You fucking spurg out and challenge him to a fucking, like, writing contest, and you're like, I'm going to crush your dreams. Like, I get it. I sort of see, because, like, she feels betrayed by, like, the work he's doing right now. But Jesus Christ, just a pathetic individual. Just a complete spurg. Complete fucking spurg.
Yeah.
But that's the character, so be it.
So Masamune and Elf, they go back to his house, and they're chilling out on the couch. They're, like, looking at the rules of this thing, like, figuring out what they're going to do. And then they hear fucking Eromanga banging on the floor, and so what's this?
And they're like, oh, this is a totally healthy way to deal with this. Like, oh, there's a girl banging on the fucking floor. Let's just go cater her every whim. I'm not gonna give up on that. This is not okay. This is fucked up. You should not live this way. And everyone's like, oh yeah, that's just how we live. That's just life here in this fucking house. What the fuck? Come on.
Yeah.
God, Jesus.
So Masamune,
yeah.
This is fucking real confusing now. So Masamune runs up to go talk to his sister, and she's mad because Elf has posted on Twitter a picture of her at a cafe, and it says, "I'm on a date with Masamune, the author," and she's, of course, Sagiri's all pissed off about this. I was just wondering, and Masamune says, oh, that's just Elf, playing a joke. She's just doing a little prank. And I'm like, why would she make this joke? Who is this at the expense of? Because her Twitter followers are just going to think she's actually dating him.
Yeah,
why would they doubt that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, she basically just made it out in public like they are actually dating. What?
Yeah.
Is that okay? Does he not process that that's how that's going to be taken? I mean, Sagiri took it that way.
Well, Elf is, she's in love with him, clearly. So I get why she would do that. She's expressing her feelings and shit.
The thing is,
for him, though,
if she did mean it, then, like, the consequences of that are that they now look like they're dating, and he just takes it as, like, oh, she's just joking. And I'm like, well, who is this a joke at the expense? Is it at your expense? Is it at Sagiri's expense? Are you do you realize what's happening here by her saying that?
Okay, you're talking about, like, things this guy realizes. Okay, like, when he hears this shit, when he hears, like, she's like, no, I'm mad at you for going on a date with Elf, and he was like, oh no, don't worry, it's not a date. And she's like, no, I'm still mad with you. By the way, you are not allowed to go on a date with any woman ever again. And he's just like, why would you say that? Why would you give me that kind of order, Sagiri? I don't know. What could possibly be your fucking motivation for saying that shit to me? He still doesn't understand. That's the most, come on, dude. That's over the fucking line.
And then it cuts back to Elf sitting on the couch downstairs, just sipping tea. She's just waiting. She's just sitting around waiting for them to be done with their... Like, she knows they're in love with each other, and she's just sitting there on the couch going, man, he loves his sister so much, but he sure doesn't understand her. And I'm like, Elf, what are you doing? What are you doing here?
She's being the audience surrogate, or the author surrogate, just saying what the situation is right now.
Well, see, here's the thing, and I wrote down, please fix this, Elf. Because in that moment, I thought, okay, if Elf was not in love with Masamune, this would be okay with me. If she's someone who just hangs out with him to have a writing buddy, and she thinks it's funny, because she knows they're in love with each other, so where does she fit into that, Maybe she just wants to be friends, maybe she just thinks this is all funny, and that's why she's sitting around. But if she's in love with him, this is daft. Like, this idea that she would just be around witnessing this guy she likes just, like, flirt with his sister.
She's getting a first-hand cuckolding going on here. That's what she's into, I guess.
She's putting herself into it.
Yeah.
And she barges into Sagiri's room and is just, like openly suggesting, like, she's being tsundere in the room. Like, she's having all these feelings towards Masamune right there in front of both of them. And I'm just like, what are you doing?
Okay, you know what?
What is this?
You know what? To defend Elf a little bit, okay, we have both seen, I'm sure, in our lives, the situation where you got beta orbiters. You got beta orbiters around the people, and even when you know that they're not interested in you at all, there is a thing where people just like being around the people they like, because that's, I guess, better than being out of their life entirely. So she is being a total beta orbiter to this relationship right now, and I think that's what's going on. That's the best I got. I don't know, man.
So all right, we get into. They start trying to write the book, the book for this contest. It has to be a short story, and so Elf just like watches over Masamune's shoulder as he attempts to write this short story.
I guess she's an expert at short story or something. Like she says, this is like training. She
knows
to
better
be the
than
master.
he is.
I guess so.
Yeah. And so we get a sequence where now at this point, the fantasy of how fast you can write a book has just gone beyond the
100
absurd.
pages instantly, yeah. 100 pages.
She just stands at his desk like all night. It's implied this is like one night, of him writing. And yeah, the first book he turns in, it's 100 pages, it's way too long. Then he just it shows her like read through like 5 manuscripts of his. And you know what offended me the most about this scene, Nate?
What's that?
Was that they kept it's like a repetitive camera thing where it'll like show the desk and then it'll show him, right? Like to indicate time passing. And each time it shows the desk, there's one more energy drink on the desk. And all I could think was, really? One energy drink per book? This is fucking bullshit. When I write, I have to have like 8 coffees and 10 cans of fucking tea, and like my whole desk would just be littered with bullshit that I was consuming nonstop while writing this book. And it's just because, again, in this show, writing a book is nothing. You drink one energy drink, you sit down for a couple hours, you've got 100 pages.
Okay, to be fair, there is like a calendar. They do the trope of the crossing days off the calendar thing. So like, I don't know how long this whole thing was, but it was over some amount of days, maybe like a month. I had the impression it was like a month. And at the end, they had like 2 days left, and that's when Masamune shows up, or Muramasa shows up. So it was like, the first one did definitely look like he instantly busted out 100 pages, but the rest of it was over like some, stretch of days. So it wasn't.
If
like
that's the case, then
yeah,
why was the energy drinks even piling up? And if that's the case, also, how could it possibly only be one per book? Because if he's writing it over the course of days, he's not going to only drink one. Yeah.
They've totally failed to convey any of this information. They just showed you the calendar at the end. It's. Yeah. I don't know.
So I have written down, I want to die. This was when the girl showed up in the school uniform.
I was because as soon as I saw that shit, like because I'm a genius, I knew immediately that this character, because I'm such a genius that I know that every new girl introduced is gonna fall in love with the main character of the fucking light novel adaptation. That's high level shit. But so yeah, knowing that's gonna happen, it's like, okay, this person is the villain. We need to like pad out how long it takes. Like there's going to be a scene where like, okay, they're going to meet later. They're going to have like a little face off. There's going to be, they're going to drag it out. She's going to drop some hints like, oh, maybe there's more going on in their relationship, which they kind of already did. But the point is like, you don't blow your load instantly and reveal like the quote unquote secret that she's like in love with this dude. And like, it's his work that inspired her. Cause like, I knew all that shit was coming, but they just reveal it all. They just fucking spill their guts instantly. Yeah. It was bizarre.
It's incredible because
it was honestly wasteful. It was honestly wasteful. It was like poorly paced and revealing too much information at once.
It almost felt like they didn't realize they'd done it because, like, there is a reveal moment later on where she like says, "You're the one who inspired me," and all that. She like goes on a whole rant about it.
Yeah.
But you know that immediately because as soon as she shows up to his house, she like the phrasing of what she says to him tells you already.
Yep.
Like you sit there and you're like, oh, okay, so he inspired her in the first place. She's mad at him for some reason. That's the only thing that's left to reveal. But like, she shows up at his house and immediately we get the whole picture. We're like, okay, she's a fan. There's the mystery. It's been solved.
Yep. Yep.
Then she like comes into his house and Elf is there, and she's got the fucking she's got Eromanga on speakerphone or whatever, and like she just because the one girl like says, "What are you doing here, elf?" And she's like, "Oh, we're living together," like trying to fuck with her and stuff. And I'm like, just everyone's in love with them. Just that's like in that one scene, it's just click. Yeah, it's a harem now.
Yeah.
Like we've had suggestions that Elf likes him. We've kind of got a suggestion that this new girl might like him. We know Sagiri likes him, but in this one moment, it clicks and it's a full harem. All of them are upset with each other that they're all around this guy.
100% true. 100% true. I will say though, one thing I like better about Elf than the other girls, I don't know, Elf is growing on me. I really like that red outfit. Something about it is getting under my skin.
Because Elf seems like she should be a good character. It's just that the way she's handled is so fucking all over the place.
My brain is able to like forget all the bullshit that happens every episode, and I just remember like, oh, this cute girl in a red dress.
There's like that. Something refreshing about when you see her, because she seems like the more together character. But then she'll do some dumb shit that just makes you go like, what are you doing? What are you fucking doing?
And plus,
I want to like you.
Yeah. and like, she has sort of fallen in love with the character over the course of the events that we have witnessed. So like, it's like we understand why she feels this way. Whereas like, okay, this girl like read apparently, okay. So I'm going to get to this, but like, she loves this book that he wrote when he was like a fucking, I don't know, how old was he? Like maybe like 14, 13, 12? And he wrote a book so fucking good that it changed this girl's life. I do not believe it. I do not believe that is possible. This kid is not that fucking good.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a problem with that aspect of it, but the fact that like the idea that this guy who we've been presented as like kind of shit, wrote this, but some people have shitty taste.
There has been no like genius shown for this character except the fact that he's able to write like unbelievably fast, which like everyone can do. So it's not even special. Yeah. But I mean,
I've written down.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I've written down that Eromanga's a fucking rapist because when they get Muramasa in the house, she immediately sits down and just starts writing. And they're all just kind of looking at her like, what the fuck is this idiot doing? Like, what is wrong with her? Why is she doing this? And then Eromanga-sensei is like, hey, you should go lift up her skirt and show me your panties. And I'm just like, what's wrong?
Dude, that's great. But even before that, she's like, hey, she looks like totally defenseless right now. She looked like she wouldn't do anything if you did something to her right now. Isn't that interesting? Don't you find that interesting, brother of mine? What a fucking creep.
He doesn't chastise her for it. He doesn't care.
He's just like, oh, you're so over the top, girl. Who I love. Yeah. I will cover up your crimes, no matter how egregious they may be. Fuck this dude.
Doesn't give a fuck.
He's a fucking enabler. He's enabling this kind of behavior. Like, okay, her parents are fucking dead. It's time to be a fucking adult big brother dude and tell her that she's being a fucking rapist. Someone has to teach her that raping's not okay.
Yeah. So then we get to the over-the-top anime part of it where Muramasa's like, oh, I don't even know the titles of the books I've written because all I care about is writing for myself and getting all these words out of me so I can write books so I can read them. But I don't know why that means she doesn't know the titles. Like, I guess the implication is that the publishers just slapped a title on it or something.
I would assume that's it. She obviously doesn't name them herself.
Why doesn't she name them? Why doesn't she just name the stories?
I mean, this girl just loves writing. She's just that's what she wants. It doesn't sound like she even.
Is that I've never known an author who's like, oh, all I care about is the writing. The title, it doesn't matter. Like, the title's part of the writing. You can write a cool title.
That's an odd position. She says, like, I only care about the text. I only care about the text. But, like, the title is text. It's part of the fucking...
Yeah, exactly.
It's just it's a weird barrier to put up for yourself that, like, you specifically don't care about your titles. I don't know.
And it's just, all it is that they're trying so hard to make this, like, to sell us on the idea of this character of that she's like, she's just a pure writer. She's just she's so obsessed with the writing and like appealing to herself that she's a complete idiot about everything, Yeah. But like, they oversell it, man. Like, she doesn't know the names of her books. Like, come on, man. Give me a little. It doesn't have to be this crazy. Yeah. It doesn't have to be way over the top, because then you just can't buy into the character at all. Then it's like, well, the things she does don't matter anymore because you can write it all away as she's fucking insane.
Right.
Right. But then she gives a speech I actually appreciated. Mm-hmm. First of all, she says that as authors, you got to keep it 100. You always got to keep it 100, Nate.
I agreed.
Which is to say, I'm bastardizing what she actually said, which is that as an author, you should always be writing work that you would rate 100 out of 100. Like, you should always be trying to make your 10 out of 10s.
You know what I thought when I first heard that? I first thought, this bitch has never had to put fucking food on the table. That was my first thought. She has such a luxury that she can sit around all day and just churn out stuff that she counts. I mean, I'm doing Mia Maffa right now. That's like the opposite of what I'm doing. I'm doing the, making shit as fast as possible, trying to get it to a level of acceptability and then get it out, because I am aware, I have learned it has been beaten into me over the years of doing this shit that is the way that I have to succeed in this particular field. I have to make myself engage with the audience on a frequent basis. And like that, this is clearly more of the like fantasy writer shit we're seeing. Like, she can just churn out 100 out of 100 shit all the time. And like the dude here also says that he calls all his stuff 100 out of 100.
Which was shocking to me when
right,
he said that. I was like,
too.
really?
Yeah.
You're that confident in your writing, guy who can't even get fucking published? Okay.
These people write fucking light novels. They don't write like, I don't know, literary masterpieces.
It's again just the level of like weird pride where like I want this show to make fun of light novels a little bit more. Like, sometimes it does, but then other times it's like but it's totally cool.
Should we interpret this like 100 out of 100 system as like under like, light novel context? Like, what's a 100 out of 100 light novel, It's at a different standard.
But where this gets interesting is where she talks about how the first fan letter she got said that it gave her work 1,000,000 points out of 100.
Yep.
And she was so blown away and felt like it was unfair that like as an author, she is just striving to make something that's like, as good as she needs it to be, but the audience is able to just like love it vastly more than she ever could. And she experiences this herself with Masamune's writing. Right. She thinks his writing is 1,000,000 out of 100, and she just can't deal with not having more of it in her life. So she's trying to write her own stories just to have something interesting for her, and she just literally like rips him off, I guess, but does it way better.
It's interesting that she's way more famous, but apparently I guess her stuff appeals more to the mainstream in some way. So she's like way more successful.
And I thought that was neat because I mean we, as you just said with Mia Maffa, like, there's like as creators we have to deal with this all the time of like realizing that what we want our story to be is not necessarily what our audience is going to care about, and sometimes we might just take a shit on camera and someone thinks it's incredible and we don't even give a fuck. It's happened to all of us. And obviously it's making you rethink the way you do content a little bit, and it's definitely done it for me in the past where I look at like what I think I have to do, and then I look at what actually succeeds, and I go, I guess I can just like cut out all the shit that I thought had to be there and do what you guys think has to be there, as a career move. So yeah, that was thought-provoking.
That was an interesting section. I did appreciate that.
And that was probably my favorite thing that's happened in the show so far, which is not a high bar to reach or anything. Yeah.
By the way, at the end of this, I do want to say that for the 1,000,000 out of 1,000,000 thing, like I don't know, this is kind of a pedantic point, I guess, but like your system is fucking retarded, girl. You like have to go 1,000,000 out of 100. That's your criteria. Readjust your fucking numbers. Come on, come up with something more reasonable. But okay, I guess it's just what some fans said. So fair enough.
And I've gotten, I've had those kinds of fan mails before.
Yeah.
And I've seen people who love dumb shit and will give it an 11 out of 10. Or like, oh, it's better than the best thing. It's just the greatest thing in the world because it appeals to me so personally because I've literally read 10 books. And this one was incredible.
Yeah, and I guess I shouldn't shadow too much for that.
Yeah, and when she's talking about how she can't find another one that like gives that feeling, I felt that because I personally, as someone who consumes way too much stuff, like I do feel like as your standards go up, it gets harder and harder to have that 1,000,000 out of 100 reaction. Like,
Agreed.
Will ever give me that when I've seen so much stuff? You don't have that aha moment of just getting blown the fuck away very often.
But that's, that was interesting, though, because, like, we don't actually know the literary history of this girl in terms of, like, what she's into. So it's entirely possible she, like, didn't read shit and then picked up this guy's book, and that's why it blew her away so much.
That's my assumption, actually. That's how I read it.
Yeah? Okay.
Because of the fact that that she is supposed to be, and I mean, again, the anime didn't really convey this very well, but she is supposed to be dumb. Like, she's kind of a ditzy weirdo, you know? So I kind of see it as, like, she admires this dude's writing so much because she's a fucking idiot, and she read some shit he wrote when he was 12, and she thought it was the greatest thing ever, so she tried to copy it. She's basically writing fanfics.
I like that way more.
And it just happens. Yeah, and it just so happens that she's a way better writer than he is.
See, the way she comes off in the show, I really thought they were going for, like, this intellectual character who's like, she's read it all, and only this guy's shit has reached the level of fucking godlike light novel status she needs. No, your reading is way better, and I'm going to stick with that. That's good. Yeah. That makes the scene a lot more bearable for me.
So in this scene, this was, the weirdest thing about the fact that this episode is so fast is that it keeps trying to, typically this arc would have been a lot of prolonging the inevitable. It would have been a lot of, like, making us not learn things for episodes on end to keep the show going. What's weird is they do that in the episode and then reveal it immediately.
It was like the way that Elf that jumps into, like, tries to stop it. That was so weird. I was getting angry, and I was like, oh, of course we're doing this. And then it happened, and I was like, what do we do that for?
So in this episode, when the girl first shows up, Elf tells Masamune, don't listen to her because don't listen to her side of the story because it'll affect you and how you write.
By the way, the worst advice I've ever heard in my life. Don't ever do that. She's an idiot.
It comes off immediately as a plot device. You're just like, okay, we're trying to prolong the inevitable. But then the girl comes into the house anyways, and then she's telling him the story. And I'll give it to Elf that the moment she said it the second time kind of made sense, because this girl says, she's starting to say, I'm mad at you because you started writing a romantic comedy series. And then Elf says, hold on, this is why you shouldn't listen to her because it'll affect your writing. And I was like, okay, yeah, maybe she's worried that she's going to plant it in his head to change his story. But then immediately afterwards, Elf tells the girl, you've just got to explain yourself straight.
Yeah, Elf herself
and then she does.
Her. I don't know what the fuck's going on in that girl's... I don't know. I really tried to find out.
Elf says, don't listen to her, then pulls the girl aside, and then says to her, you've just got to be straight.
Dude, and, like, she pulls her towards the door like she's going to kick her out, and then just, like, turns around and is like, no, do it properly. What?
It's the weirdest thing that's ever happened. And it just... Yeah, it really seemed like, okay, we're prolonging this till next episode. We'll learn the truth later, even though we've already figured it out. Yep. And then immediately there's a big reveal and huge dramatic scene.
It's like they realized that, like, okay, we can't just, like, delay it because that'd be retarded. Yeah. So, but we've got to keep that, like, thing that we always do of, like, it just gets delayed. Like, they didn't realize they could take that out too. They had to keep that in as well. Holy shit. Something got confused in this shit. I don't know on what level it was.
Super fucking weird, and then it just jumps right into, like, all the dramatic, like, this arc then just ends. Like, everything we need to know just happens, including the end of the tournament. Like, all of it. Everything that's been established.
The next scene, the tournament's over. And the girl's like, oh, man, like, the tournament's, it's going to be exciting. Oh, it's going to be intense. Things are going to be crazy. And it's like, done. Results are in. I was freaking out when I saw it say, like, results are in. I thought I'd lost something or skipped an episode.
So Muramasa reveals at long last that she read the guy's stories. That's what inspired her. That's why she's an author, and she wants him to get back to writing battle manga because she loved his battle novels. She loved his stories so much that she's pissed off that he's switching genres, and she's been writing in that genre that he was writing in just because. Which, I mean, didn't he finish that book like 2 months ago?
It's implied that
she's. Yeah. That was at the start of the series.
Yeah, that was
it's implied that Muramasa has been like her whole career has been her trying to copy what he did. So what she only been famous for 2 months? Like, what's going on here? Just the timeline is so fucked.
They didn't do, like, a flashback to her, like, her childhood or anything, so maybe it really has been that short. Like, I don't know, like, a year or two in which she's been writing this. Maybe she really surged in that time. Like, she's obviously a writing god who can churn out 1,000 pages
It's just that it was implied that she started because he stopped. Like, because he stopped that genre, she picked up. But we know that she's written a ton of stories, that she's super famous, but he literally stopped that story at the start of the show, which was only a couple months ago at the most. You know, so
that's true.
The timeline doesn't make any fucking sense.
All right, if that's true, if that's what you said, that she started when he stopped, then yeah. I mean, I wasn't. Yeah. I didn't get that.
I don't know if they said that outright, but like she was implying the reason she was doing battle manga was because he wasn't doing battle manga, and she was like frustrated.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess that's true.
I keep saying manga, but it's just because it's in my head.
Yeah.
So she offers him a deal. She says, if you will quit what you're doing, quit trying to be a publisher, I will use my infinite wealth that I have from I mean, I assume if it really is 140 million, she's got to be fucking rich.
Yeah,
like,
got to be.
That's a lot. That's a lot of fucking sales. So she's like, I will use all this money and I will just take care of you and your sister as long as you just write books for me.
Yeah, that's what the fuck? That is such like a small teenage thing to even think that someone would want to do. No one in the real world would ever suggest such a thing. Yeah.
I gotta say, I would have taken that deal immediately. Immediately. Because to me, I feel like that's what every author really dreams of.
That's kind of like being having like a patron, you know, back in the old days.
Yeah. That's what Tom is always saying, that like that would be his dream, would be to have just some benefactor, because it's someone who just wants you to do what you want to do, you know.
That's what made the fucking Sistine Chapel back in the day.
Exactly. Just, hey, you are an artist who does a thing I really like. I'm just gonna take care of your whole life. You just keep doing that just for me, you know. The only problem is that person dies or loses interest. You're completely fucked.
Right.
But you know. I mean, we basically have that just dispersed among a couple hundred people as Patreon guys, you know. Mm-hmm. But you know, this girl's loaded. I would have been like, hell yeah. But then, so then Sagiri.
Would you have been happy though with your work not being able to go public? Like, it was the way that she was like, you know, you write for me and only I will see it. And yeah, it's my shit.
Was she implying that he couldn't publish it at all? Like, was that a part of it?
I don't know.
Because I wouldn't be happy about that. Like, if I could just post it online, that's all I need. You know, like I don't care if it's famous.
I don't know, whatever. Her plan was fucking retarded anyway.
Yeah. So then Sagiri, and this is a kind of a big character moment.
Yeah, it was.
Sagiri busts out of her room. You know, she comes downstairs and she's screaming at this girl like, "Fuck you! He's mine. I had him first." And she says, "I love him more than you." But this is not taken by anybody as a confession.
No one's face changes at all. Yeah.
No,
nothing is realized.
I don't think Muramasa or Masamune, I don't think Masamune processed it at all.
Not at all.
I don't think he even noticed that this big emotional outburst was couched in loving him.
He's just like, but why can't I go on dates with other... I don't understand what you're saying to me.
So Sagiri comes out of her room and she has this whole outburst. Pretty good voice performance. I think we can give it credit for that, because the voice actress is like, her voice is all cracking and stuff, because she's A, supposed to be 12, and B, supposed to be like, she doesn't really talk, so her screaming is like her voice is just rattling and destroyed and stuff, and sounds pretty all right.
You know, this is an emotional moment for her. She's coming out of her room, so yeah.
For people who like this show, this scene will be for them like the scene of the year.
Of course.
People will be treating this like it was a really fucking powerful scene because of it had yelling.
I wrote I wrote a little piece about this specific scene, and it was just let me see here. Okay, God, I hate Sagiri, that weak piece of shit. It's just that she's so shit. Seeing her do something not pathetic for once seems impressive. That's what's happening here. So this is the prodigal son thing. Like, wow, you managed to not fuck up something at one point in your life. Great job. I guess you can find that endearing in a character if you want.
Yeah. So that happens, and Masamune's like, you know what? Sagiri's right. We're gonna take you on. We're gonna win this challenge fair and square. Mm-hmm. And hey, maybe give my stupid rom-com a chance. Maybe you'll end up liking it. And Muramasa,
yeah.
On her way out, she says, "If I don't like it, I will kill you."
That was a good moment. I liked that. That was a spark of life in the episode once again.
So then, of course, he wins. This immediately afterwards, we learn the results. The tournament's over. He wins. The reason he wins is because this fucking idiot, Muramasa, wrote twice the word count.
Dude.
She didn't stay within the parameters of the contest and therefore was disqualified.
Dude, let me do my fucking rant here right now. Okay, so earlier in the episode, when he was like doing his training on how to write like a short story, like the first thing that happens is that he writes 100 pages, and Elf's like, "Why the fuck would you do that? The limit is 60 pages. Why would you not get to 61 and be like, oh, I fucked up. Let's stop. Why would you continue and to waste your fucking precious seconds you have left on this planet?" Churning out this garbage that is 100% useless. And then at the end, and this is why I'm so angry about that opening scene and how fast things happen, and like it's like we were actually fucking lied to about the motivation of Muramasa, because like it's like she wanted to lose all along, but she actually got twice the number of votes, so she actually won and did things correct. She just clearly intentionally fucked up the standards of the contest so that she would lose. I don't understand what this character's trying to achieve. How could you do that?
Well,
Is it just
thing,
that she's
Nate.
that dumb? It's that she's that dumb, right? It's gotta be that.
I think it's supposed to be that she's just stupid.
It doesn't come across that way at all, though.
Because in the scene where she's talking about herself as a writer, she's
Yeah.
like, all that matters to me is I write the story I want to write. Like, and again, like when you look at that scene from the manga that was cut, like you really get this overall impression of the character that she's supposed to be like just all she understands is writing. Like she's just a total idiot,
I
and she
see where
takes
you're
her,
going.
you know, she takes herself seriously. But like, I mean, I've seen other characters like that, so I know what the template here is. You know, is like the character who's a total idiot but thinks she's smart or something like.
It's kind of like the main character of Flubber. You know, he's a super genius, but he
haven't
fucking
seen Flubber
you haven't
in
seen
20
Flubber?
years.
Come on.
I
Oh,
have,
dude.
but it was like I was a fucking child when I saw Flubber.
It's time for a thoroughly analyzing Flubber. The time has come. The time has come.
But so like I think the concept is supposed to be,
Yeah.
this girl's so dumb she fucked up. What I don't get is why did they even publish it?
Yeah,
Like,
that's what's weird. That's what's weird
The
about it.
parameters of the I assume the reason for the word count limitation is because they're all being published in the same magazine.
Dude, like, imagine
So-
being a person who voted for that series and, like, you read the whole thing and you liked it. Okay, this one's the best. I'm going to vote for that one. And then, like, you find out it was disqualified for being twice the length it's supposed to be. Like, I'd be fucking pissed if I was a writer. Like, why was I even given the option of this when, you know, it doesn't make any fucking
why
sense.
were they allowed to vote on it?
Exactly.
That doesn't. If it was disqualified, tell them. This one's out. This one is like it's almost
The
as
readers
if
were cheated.
they somehow didn't realize that it was like they published
Yeah, the
it and had it
publishers didn't
voted on, and then
realize.
wait a minute, this is 100 pages. We
Christ.
can't count this. Like when this happens in a sporting event, it's like, oh, it turns out they cheated, so we didn't know that at the time. Yeah, they were doping. We only
Yeah.
found out afterwards, you know. But like this, they knew. They knew she had turned in too many words.
Imagine
too
watching
many
a fucking
pages.
episode of like Kuroko no Basket or whatever, and like the other team was juicing, and like we know that, but they were let play, and then like our characters, I don't know, let's say they win, and then it's like, oh, by the way, none of that mattered because they were gonna get disqualified anyway because we knew all along.
Yeah.
It's like the dramatic tension is completely undercut. I mean, there was no dramatic tension because it ended instantly here, so I guess that's fine. They didn't fuck that up, but
Yeah.
problems.
So
There's problems.
she loses, and then we cut to a scene of them sitting on a bench together, and he reads her story.
Whoa.
And-
No, it's not that simple, dude. It's not that simple. Because we cut to a scene of him talking with Sagiri in his room, and then it's a flashback to some unspecified time in between, I think, when the results came out.
I didn't even
and
realize it was a flashback until you said so
it was-
earlier. And,
yeah, right? It was weird.
But you're right. It's a
a
because
completely unnecessary flashback for no reason.
Well, I think the reason is that they wanted us, like, maybe that confession happened before he knew he had won, but they
Right,
wanted to
okay.
tell us that he had won first for some reason.
Yeah, that is what happened. I don't know why that was really important to do.
Yeah.
It works just as well either way, but
In any
all right.
case, he reads her book, and here's another weird element of this.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sitting on the bench together, and she's like really anxious to find out what he thinks of her story.
Yeah.
I didn't get what, like, that was never established as like a part of her character, that she cares about his opinion of her work. Like, She's just a fan of him who wants him, like, who wants to enjoy his stories.
Well,
and she writes for herself. As she said many times, she doesn't care about the audience. It's just her. She's writing for her. So then for her to be, like, all antsy, like, oh, is he going to like my story? I was like, what?
Well,
what is this thing now?
I'll give you that it was never, ever set up in her character at all that she was concerned with what other people, including him, think of her writing. That said, I think it is totally a sort of normal thing for, like, a creator, you know, who made something, like, especially because she's, like, based on his shit, to, like, you know, be like, oh, I hope he likes it. I hope I live up to his expectations. So, like, I get it on that level. But, yeah, like, there was no narrative significance to this whatsoever. And then comes the confession. Yeah,
so then she's just like, hey, so, yeah, I love you as both an author and a person, and I wanna fuck you. And he's like, well, I love someone else. And she's like, okay.
It was, you know, I actually liked
I wrote
that.
down, all I wrote was, this shit is mad gay. That's all I wrote down.
That's accurate.
I'm just so annoyed that it's because this shit doesn't matter. Why do we need all these? Look, this is a love story between a guy and his fucking sister. They both love each other. We know that. We've known that from the start of the show.
Yep.
We had a confession scene that somehow blew up in its own face three episodes ago.
A couple of them, yeah.
We know what is happening here. Why are we just throwing in more and more girls to show up, love this guy, and disappear? What is the point? What is the onus of this? Like, is this what people like? Is just the, like...
No.
I mean, if we're thinking of this in terms of projection, like, we like these girls, we want them to like us, but why do we need them to like him? Him who has no interest in them and has someone else he likes, and this is supposed to be, like, on some level, a romance story for those two characters, but we gotta throw in all this extra bullshit. Like, just have the characters be around him and let me love them instead of this...
I think I understand why. I mean, like, because we want, as the viewer, as the disgusting, you know, voyeurs watching this shit, like, we want to see these girls get lovey-dovey with someone we can project onto. Like, that's the appeal that they're going for here. And, like,
but then
look at the shot. Look at the shot. Well, I mean, he barely is one, but look at the shot of, like, her looking at the camera saying, like, I love you. This is a moment where we're supposed to be like, this girl loves me. For one brief moment in my dark, shitty life, I feel like somebody gives a fuck about me for 1 second, and, like, a girl would actually talk to me and say she loves me. That's what they're trying to communicate here, and, like, they're doing it. You know, that's fine. But of course, there's no narrative significance to this. None of this is point. There's no point to any of this in terms of the love story going on between these guys, or, like, the rivalry between them. It's all for us to just feel good as an audience, like, yay, anime girls. That's it. There's absolutely nothing else to it.
It's upsetting.
Yeah,
definitely
I mean,
upsetting.
it's that kind of bargain bin, absolute dog shit trash that people malign anime for, and here it is, going strong, and people fucking love it. Those fucking idiots. Kill yourself if you like this show,
the
please.
saddest part about this is that at the end of the previous episode, which in the last episode we were, like, dead, we were like, I don't know, maybe this show will start to get interesting now that they're introducing a plot, you know? And then... It kind of did. This episode did get interesting because they introduced a plot, but it's already over now. So I have no idea what the next, because we obviously finished book 2, so now we're just going into a new book. What's it going to be? Because they're going to have to completely establish a new plot, so I know what's going to happen. The next episode is going to be a bunch of dumb fan service. It's going to be, what do they got to do to draw someone's tits today? And
this girl has not gotten naked yet. This girl's got to get naked sometime soon.
Yeah, she's going to show up again for some reason. She's going to be around now. They're all going to just be around. Every girl is just going to be somewhere around. And they're all going to be related to something, and then somewhere in episode 9 we'll get us another. Now there's this thing that's important. I'm expecting either the next arc or the last one is going to get really dramatic, where it's going to be like, their aunt shows up and she's a bitch, and she's like, you know what? Even though you're successful, I changed my mind and I'm shutting down this whole operation. It'll be something like that, you know. Right. That's what I'm expecting, but novel readers can correct me if I'm wrong.
I know what's going to happen. Well, okay, here's a guess. Sagiri is going to, like, something's going to happen. Sagiri's going to get really depressed, and, like, the last couple episodes, she's, like, not going to come out of a room or, like, not communicate with the dude, and he's going to do some big autistic gesture to, like, show, I don't know, like, I actually care about you, which is said, you know, been made clear 1 billion times, but he's going to do something, and, like, it's going to end with her I don't even think she'll go outside. I bet it will end with her stepping out of a room, which she already does all the time. It's gonna be something like that. She's gonna be stuck in a room because like that's what we're like supposed to care about, the whole Sagiri arc and whether or not she leaves her room and shit. I don't know.
Caring about anything.
I know.
All right, is that it? Wrapping this up. This is already almost an hour. We've talked about this episode.
We did it. This was to give it credit. This episode was fucking meaty as shit. So many. This is enough to fill like an entire, probably 5 episodes. I would normally expect this to be like 3 to 4 episodes or something. And
definitely could have been 3.
Without a doubt. I want to give this girl props, because I respect that she confessed point blank. They did not fuck around. She's like, okay, all right, I've been doing all this crazy shit. I know I'm nuts, but I just want to let you know I actually love you. I'm making that fucking clear to you. And he's like, okay, got it, but I love someone else. She's like, understood. This is an adult exchange happening here between people who live in the real fucking world, at least for this little scene. And that was good. It's just that it happened so fucking fast. We only met this character at the end of last episode, and I'm telling you, she's done. There is nothing new to do with this character. She is literally trash. Any moment she's on screen from now on is a waste of your time, so be aware of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Hopefully, it'll be at least somewhat exciting again. I'm glad this happened.
It's never going to get this exciting. There's no way they can put this much writing into an episode.
Maybe it'll get fucking insane. Maybe it'll just go crazy.
I hope
off
so,
the rails.
man. I hope so. I hope this shit happens like twice an episode. We introduce a new character. She gets to be waifu status. They have a battle. She's done. She's spurned. By the end of the episode, bam! Bring another one in. Just keep accelerating the pace. I will enjoy that. That'll be fun.
All right. See you next week.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.